Hello, my name is David Parsons, also known locally as Die Turbo. If I get a chance at some stage in the near future, I will tell you why I got a nickname. I'm a big fan of entertainment, particularly music. I love all kinds of music, bit of old rock and me, but I love dance. I used to be a DJ, but anything entertainment. Now, over the years, since I was a little kid, I used to watch horror. Horror used to be a fantastic way of seeing all the classics of the film genre of horror, particularly the Draculas and the Frankensteins and all that. And then it progressed through the 70s and 80s. Growing up as a young kid, I was in the thick of all the great films that come out in the late 70s, early 80s. The video nasties. And I don't know why I can't explain it. I've never been able to explain it, but I've just been a big fan of the horror genre. I love thrillers, I love action, I love comedy, but I'm always intrigued by horror. I don't know why. I just get excited by these films. In fact, most of them, the cheaper, the better. Because with for me, with the low budget films is the films are that ridiculous as an horror film that they let you know that you're not watching anything real because they're that bad. And I think it's just the fact that it's good versus evil. Evil pretty much in most horror films, gets his own way, but ends up coming unstuck at the end. Of course, today, you don't seem to get that as much. You always leave it open for the next film. So we're going to go over the weeks and months, hopefully, to come. We're going to be doing this very regular now. I have done a few in the past, and I hope to do this as regular as I possibly can now. So we're going to talk about quite a few, but I want to get something that I intrigued me. But when you get to certain ages in life, you try to set yourself little mini projects just to keep your mind ticking over and keep things going. So I looked at the list of the video nasties. Apparently, there are 72 video nasties. Pretty much the main ones that were really graphic and really sort of beyond normal horror, if I could say. And basically, I decided, I thought, well, I can remember seeing some of them, but I can't remember seeing all of them. So I searched high and low, particularly on YouTube, and I managed to download and see most of the 72. I think I've seen about I'd say about 65 of the 72. There's a couple that have eluded me. Snuff, I've now got, and I'm ready to see. I will get to that, review that maybe next week. The Cannibal Man, which is a 1970 film, by all accounts, it's a very good film. It's a Spanish-made film. I'm not sure whether it's got subtitles or whether it's dubbed, but by all accounts, it is quite a good film. The only ones I really been bothered to see is the exploitations of the Nazis, Love Camp Number 7 and all them kind of films. I have seen The Beast in Eat. It's a ridiculous thought of a film. When you read about it, you think, this film's going to be absolutely lousy, but I can tell you it actually is a good film. And I've seen the uncut version, and I've seen the cut version, and the uncut version is just as good as the cut version. It's basically a war film with them experimenting, the Germans, Nazis, experimenting on some crazy things, which during World War I and World War II, I think every country had their own little secrets of what they were doing, not just Germany, including Britain and America. They were doing some nasty things. Not everybody is innocent as they say they are. But it actually is a good film. But the other two, I think it's Love Camp Number 7 and SS Experimental Camp, I think it is. I've seen bits, but it's just sex, violence, and exploitation, which nothing wrong with for an horror film, but it's just same old thing over and over again. So what I decided to do was two things. I decided to look at these films and see for myself, one, did I remember what ones I seen and did I see more than I thought? And secondly, I wanted to see how really bad these films were for them to be banned. Now, along the way, after seeing all these films, a lot of them were bad, a lot of them were good films. is one thing I noticed that I found very strange, and I haven't heard anybody on YouTube or any place else actually talk about it. They banned these certain films, but there was 4 or 5 out there that were, in my honest opinion, maybe worse than the notorious Cannibal Holocaust and stuff, that actually didn't get into this video ban list. 2 was actually technically cannibal. Well, 1 was definitely a cannibal film, but 1 is Zombie Holocaust, and basically it's cannibals versus zombies, and the cannibals win. And the gory scenes is all about the cannibals, not the zombies. You don't actually see any zombies eating anybody in this film, but you see the cannibals. And the few scenes you see in this film, the cannibals, what they do, eating eyes, gouging eyes out, eating eyes, cutting bits of men off and whatever. This film is probably more gory than Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust is notorious for a lot of reasons. And I'm going to do a bit of a review on this film, because Cannibal Holocaust, surprisingly, has become one of my favorite all-time horror films. I think people misunderstand the meaning of the film and sort of misunderstand why they did this film and why this film was made. I think people look too far into the controversy that surrounds it, and we all pretty much know, if you're a horror fan, the background is Cannibal Holocaust. The other one is Eaten Alive. Now, this film is for some strange reason, Zombie Holocaust, when I watch this Zombie Holocaust, it unsettles me for some reason. I don't know why. I love the horror genre. There's very few scare me now. All I see is colours and shapes. I don't see blood and guts. I see colours and shapes. I've got so hard to it. But every time I watch Cannibal Holocaust, Zombie Holocaust, I sort of, there's a few things in it that just sort of really creep me out. And Eaten Alive is the other one. Eaten Alive is the late 70s and early 80s. Most of the horror films, they tended to keep to the same actors. And there's a few actors that's in Cannibal Holocaust, that's in Cannibal Ferox, that's in Eaten Alive, that's in Zombie Holocaust. They use the same actors, and everybody got disputes about what the best horror film is and stuff. But there's one thing I believe for certain, and that is the Italians and the Spanish in the 70s and 80s made by far the best horror films, and certainly the best zombie films. Eaten Alive is absolutely gruesome. It's up there definitely with Cannibal Ferox. I mean, they stripped this one woman alive, and not content with that, they actually push a piece of wood into her stomach to open it up, hold her open, so they can gouge out all the intestines. It really is graphic. Even me, I flinch a few times. Dawn of the Dead, the uncut version, is just as gruesome as any other horror film that was out there at that time. That didn't go unnoticed. And probably, if somebody was to ask me what is my favourite all-time zombie film, I think I got to say Burial Ground, for 2 reasons. Well, 3 reasons pretty much. One is the story just goes straight in, no messing about, no build-up. For hour and 20-minute film, it delivers the punch from start to finish. I mean, this film covers every kind of gruesome scene you could possibly imagine. Particularly the one scene where this woman gets a nurse, not a nurse, I do apologize, maid gets her head trapped in the window, and this zombie picks this big sword up, this big circular sword. I think it's one of them things you cut down corn and things in the fields, almost like a machete with a big massive hook. And he saws her head off, and then they devour her head. I've never actually seen any zombie film other than that where they actually eat the head. So that's a good one. The other one is it really touches up. It's a very sleazy film. Quite a bit of sex in there. I mean, he's beautiful. That's what I love about these 70s, 80s horror films is they're all mostly in Europe. And the beautiful women in these films, speaking from a man's point of view, are absolutely dynamite. I mean, these women are better than models. And basically, they're in amongst all this chaos, and they still want to have their wicked ways with each other. And by God, they do. But there's a lot of sleaze in it, which you get in most 70s, 80s horror, and even today you get it. You don't very rarely get an horror film without some sort of nudity and sex. It comes hand in hand with horror. I think they basically put a bit of sex and thinking it just to sort of take the sting out of all the nastiness that's in these films. That's the only thing I can think of anyway. But it's not just sleaze and everything else. There's actually an hint of incest in Burial Ground. I've read up about this guy or man-child, this guy who has some sort of rare disease. It's so weird how you describe this guy. He looks like a boy, and yet you know he's a man. And I gotta say it. In any horror film I've seen, and I've seen many, this guy is by far the creepiest, scariest looking dude I've ever seen in my entire life. If I was a woman, I would run for miles. I wouldn't want to be near this guy because he just does not look right. He does not look human, this guy do. And he loves his mother in more ways than one. I'm not going to go into too much detail of the actual plot of the films because for those out there who haven't seen these, I want them to tune in and have a look at these films because they're very much available. Most of them are on YouTube, and they are great films to watch. The other thing about Burial Ground that I love, the atmosphere is so fantastic. But whoever did the makeup to create these zombies, they are by far the best zombies to look at that I've seen in any zombie film, past and present and future. These people most of them come from the ground. They peer up from the ground like the zombie flesh eaters, and they look like they're dead. Whatever woman or man done the makeup to make these zombies look the way they did, they were absolutely at the best of their trade. Absolutely fantastic. That's what made this film so special for me. These creatures looked evil, and it was evil. Every gruesome scene you can possibly imagine is in this film. And it wasn't on the ban list. And I thought, well, that's a bit hypocritical. They put these certain amount, pick these ones, and then there's still a pile, and it probably is more out there that... So I'm going to go basically and said that's just to give you a little thing as to how hypocrisy and how bad things was in the 80s and why they didn't leave it up to just people's choice of whether they wanted to see this. Of course, you had the famous Mary Whitehouse, around them days. I mean, these kind of people need to be silenced because, we live in a world today where we're more and more controlled, and, people should have the right of what they should see in their own home. I know there are exceptions out there where people see films and they take advantage and go out and kill. But usually they look into it, there's a lot more to it than that. They're usually quite unhinged and gone serious mental health conditions. I mean, they've tried to pin the Child's Play film on the Jamie Bowyer kids, and there's no evidence of that. I mean, I've seen Child's Play. I don't like the films. I really don't, because I don't like anything that exploits kids or anything to do with kids. I just don't like them films. I don't know why, but there's no evidence of that. There really isn't. It's I've watched horror films all my life. Am I going to go out and stab somebody or chop somebody's head off? No, I'll leave them up to the ISIS and all them crazy people that don't drink, don't listen to music, but they like killing people. So anyway, we're going to go through some new ones and some old ones. So I'm going to start off with a recently new one. I'm not a big fan of remakes. I'd say 70% of all the remakes I've seen of horror films have not been up to any kind of standard. I think one of the worst I've seen was Nightmare on Elm Street. I thought the original was overrated. I thought they got better. I mean, I watched the original recently, and I thought it wouldn't be in my top 100. It really wouldn't. I didn't think it was that gory. I didn't think the story was half as good as I did when I thought it was original. It was definitely groundbreaking. It was definitely different for the horror genre. I give that all the respect for that. But overall as a film, I found it slow. I thought the second one was probably the worst, but I found the third, fourth, and fifth did get actually better. But then you get to a point where there's so many. How far can you go? Same as the Jason, same as the Michael Myers. Candyman. Now, I love Tony Todd, the original. I mean, this guy is suited for all right. He's just got that evil look. He's a fantastic actor. He plays more of a comedy part in the Hatchet films, which I will do a little bit of a review for. Full on gore they are. They're very fun to watch as well and very atmospheric, set in New Orleans, around that area, around the swamp lands and all that, Jack Daniels drinking area. Lovely. Tony Todd was in the original. Now, I thought the original was very cleverly done. It was an high-budget film, but as most horror films are. But it had that atmosphere. It was a slow build. I like a slow build. Yeah, I don't mind seeing films where there's non-stop action in, but if it's gory, I like plenty of blood and guts being a horror fan, but you've got to justify it. I don't like horror films with so much blood and guts in it just for the sake of it, unless you know they're the exploitation films. Like I've seen a few of these Japanese recently ones, the Go Patrol and Tokyo Go Patrol and whatever, and they're crazy films, but great fun to watch. But Candyman was a slow build, a little bit of blood and guts, a little bit of gore, nothing extreme in my opinion. They definitely end up with Saw films. I think the second and third did go. So a couple of weeks ago, I seen the follow-up. It's more of, excuse me, it's more of a follow-up than it is actually a remake, because they actually do apply to the characters from the original film back in the early 90s, 92 I think it was. And they talk a lot about the woman that discovered this thing, but they also then go way, way back to when this kid was a child and how he become this evil being and how he become this urban myth that turned out to be true, where people say Candyman 3 times and a couple of pieces of candy drop down and all of a sudden you get murdered. So they go more into detail. This version I thought was excellent. It was up to I didn't think it was better than the original or better than the other version, but I think it was as good as. It was a little bit more sophisticated. I definitely believe they put a lot more money into this film. But it had the same kind of atmosphere. It built up. It was slow. It built up. It had almost like sort of two stories going on that connected. Real decent film, and thumbs up. I don't like any stars and 1 out of 10 and 5 out of 10, but I go thumbs up and thumbs down. Thumbs up for me. I thought it was a real good film. Also, even though I'm going to be going through right away through the genres, right away through the old films to the new films. I recently caught up with some films that I missed when I was working in care. I was doing them and how many night shifts and stuff. I didn't have time to watch a lot of films, and now I'm only slowly catching up. Put the film, the remake of Poltergeist. Now, I love the original. It was a proper, it's a legendary film. It's creepy, it's scary. Steven Spielberg, at his best, I thought it was brilliant. This version, I thought, was, in fact, actually better. I really did. I thought it was the new version. I thought it kept pretty much virtually to the same story. There was more atmosphere in it, which I was surprised at, because I did love the original for that, and it was just slightly bit better. Didn't think that much better, but it was definitely better. I really enjoyed this. I think I watched this about 10 days ago. I loved it. Glued to it from start to finish, and I thought it was great. But Candyman, excellent film. Now, next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to review the latest in the long line of Halloween films, Halloween Kills. I don't listen to critics. I'm not a critic myself. I'm just somebody with a point of view. I don't believe in critics. These people, it's up to you whether you choose to watch these films or not. I mean, don't ever take my word for it. But what I'm just saying is, I just want to get out there the films that to look out for, and the films that turn out to be hidden gems. And I'm going to talk about one coming up now that totally eluded me. But my only problem with these Halloween films and Jason and the Freddy Krueger films is Jason Michael Myers has gone from being this child killer He was a killer as a child, which started the genre off. Grew up, become this maniac. Now he's superhuman. He can be killed. So, what can you do in a film where you were fighting somebody who just can't be killed? I mean, your whole story just goes haywire. I mean, I think it was Halloween H2O. He had his head chopped off. How can a man or even superhuman come back? Unless he comes back as an evil spirit. But no, he comes back as a full human being, but just like some sort of humanoid. I really just going off these storylines. And I like the third one because it done something different. I mean, the thing is with these Halloweens, they can continue. We can go for years with these Halloween films, but just change the story. We don't need to be seeing Michael Myers in every film because it's the same thing. He kills, he kills, he kills. Somebody thinks they kill him until the next one. And it's just the same over and over again. It's the same with Hellraiser. The first couple, I think the original was overrated, as in I didn't think it was as gory as people made it out to be. And the legendary Evil Dead original one, I didn't think that was, I thought it was scary, it was jumpy, it certainly made me jump quite a lot. And I loved the Evil Dead. But did I think it was the goriest film I ever seen? No, but not by a million miles. But these films, I mean, how can they keep going on and on and on when you can't kill this man? They need to change the story. So Candyman gets a thumbs up for me. Now, I'm going to try and do one every week where I class it as the hidden gem. Now, this one totally eluded me, and I never even heard of it until somebody randomly put it on YouTube last week. This film is called The Curse of the Blue Lights. It's a difficult film to describe. I've been trying hard this week to try and work out how I'm going to describe this film because it's so unique. It really is a good film. The atmosphere in this film is fantastic, but there's a little bit of gore in it. Not much, but there's a little bit to classify it as an adult horror film. And yet, there's a childlike type. If you could get a horror film that's made for kids, then this would almost do it. It is so strange to watch. You've got to see it to believe it. It is almost on the lines of Carry On Screaming, which is a great film, comedy horror, Carry On team, but they've done a great job of taking a mick out of the horror genre. And it's almost like that. It's atmospheric, it's creepy. There's a couple of really horrible, scary monsters, or one of them almost looked like me. It really is a good film. And I sat there last week watching this film and I just thought it's so great. But all I could think of while I'm watching this film is, how did I not see this? It's an hidden gem. It really is great. You've got to see this film. Anybody, young or old. The Curse of the Blue Lights. It's there. It's on YouTube. That's where I've seen it. It's fantastic. Right, here we go. Martyrs. Now, I mean, I've got a list up of the most extreme horror films going. I hate these Coca-Colas. It will stop in a second. I hate Coca-Colas, and that's all they are. These people, PPI and all this crap. You won a competition, you haven't entered a competition. I'm going to win a competition, I haven't entered it. Anyway, I got some of the most extreme films, top most extreme and goriest films, like the Tokyo Ghoul Patrol was on there, and I managed to see that on YouTube again, I think. I'm going to be selling YouTube by the looks of it. So I looked at Martyrs. Now, I seen bits, it was on the Horror Channel a while ago, and I definitely heard them speak English. But the version I got hold of was the original version. I didn't know there was a remake out of it. So I've seen bits of the original version. I thought, due to the fact I suffer with dyslexia and ADHD, I struggle with watching films with subtitles. If they're really that good, I'll try and push through. But I looked at this film and I thought, it's just one of those films I can't watch with subtitles. And then I discovered there's a remake. So I finally got around to seeing the American version of this film a few weeks ago. And it's very, I don't get why this film is so notorious and why it's intense. It's a torture horror film more than anything. I'm not going to give the story away too much. It's quite a real good story, this film. It really is a good film. But I just didn't grasp, I didn't get what made this film so much more special that everybody keeps saying, oh, it's one of the most controversial films of Sunset in the watch. And I just didn't get it. But despite that, it really, really is a good film. Two beautiful looking young girls. They all seem to pick on girls in these films a lot. The abuse of women today, it's unbelievable. These films just really unsettling. We did do a special on Spit in Your Grave as well, which of course is on the banned list. Not banned now, obviously. I mean, you can get a full version again on YouTube and other channels, Putterlock and Amazon and all these things. But Martyrs was a really good film, really intense. Really, yeah, it was unsettling to a point for me. I just got this strong mind, I watched it and it bounced off me. But I didn't get why it was so, why it's down as one of the most controversial films, and it was torture and all this. It you know, like Hostel, these three films when they come out, I mean, the brilliant films. I didn't think they was as gory as people made them out to be. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my opinion. But I just thought they could have been a fair bit more blood and guts. But as the Hostel films go, I thought the story is very clever and very actually quite you can understand how, you know, how these films are believable, basically, because we know behind the scenes, we know that in certain countries, in most countries, that there are these people that are drug trafficking and human trafficking, prostitution, and there are people that pay a lot of money to pay other people to drag girls and young boys off the streets, homeless and destitute and whatever, and to bring them in and kill them and torture them. This does go on in real life. We know it goes on. It goes on everywhere. It certainly goes on in our Great Britain. So this Martyrs is all based around her. They were abused by this family. She decided she carries this grudge to the death pretty much, and she decides to take revenge, which she does, and then discovered that there's something far more sinister with the family that abused her when she was a kid in foster care, that they are part of an organization. I ain't going to go too much into it because it is a great story. But yeah, it you know, for the sort of weak-minded and whatever, which is, I'm not criticizing anybody for that. Yeah, I can understand it's a bit unsettling, but for me, it was just a great horror film. But no big deal, as in there was nothing there for me to think it was unsettling and controversial, although it did have a big hype around the cinema. So Martyrs is definitely a thumbs up for me. Real good story. It's not something the torture kind of horror films I'm not a huge fan of. When I say I'm not a huge fan, I do find them unsettling because I think, you know, they're putting this person through so much pain, and you know at the end they're going to kill him. So it's almost like adding pain, you know, pain to somebody's death. You know, instead of just killing them, it's done then. They're murdered, that's it. They don't feel no pain. But to put people through pain and terrorize them mentally and physically, and then say, well, yeah, we've done this evil stuff to you, but we're still going to kill you on top of it. It's one of those kind of genres I find a little bit hard to sort of digest, but we all know it goes on. Maybe that's the reason why, because this stuff went on in all the wars, and it's still going on in countries today, including all the big countries, Germany, America, Britain, even in Australia. I mean, you get people like you see in the Wolf Creek films that are out there murdering people on a mass scale and going under the radar. They ain't getting caught. Some people don't even know. I mean, anybody tell you that who's seen the Alaskan Triangle series, 2 series there? They say on there every week, 16,000 people disappeared in Alaska in 20 years, just disappeared to thin air. So imagine how many people are disappearing into thin air worldwide, and what's happening to these people? People just don't suddenly disappear. These people are getting abused, they're getting tortured, they're getting raped and slaved in the trade. You see a lot of them. You know, the red light districts in Thailand, Germany, Amsterdam, all these places. So Martyrs is all a real intense film. It's a good film. It's unsettling. Yeah, I get it, but I didn't think it was over the top, in my humble opinion. So let's get a thumbs up. Now, the Hellraiser films are coming on to these. Now, I know they've got a cult following. I enjoyed them. There's quite a few. I'm up to the 6th. I'm halfway through watching the 6th one. I thought the 3rd one was the best for me because they actually came out of this environment that they bring these people into with a magic box. And they actually started shooting up and destroying the city. There was a lot of fireworks going off in that film, I think. It's the 3rd one. Enjoy these films, but I've got the 6th one now, and I'm looking at the 6th one now, and I'm thinking it's just the same thing over and over again. I still think they could do. I don't know how the other ones. I'm gonna keep watching them and get the last and final one, but I think they can do so much more with the idea of this. The idea is brilliant. This magic box that should never have been invented, and it goes back to the late 18th century with this toy maker who was struggling to make ends meet and designed this box that actually turned out to be one of the gateways of hell. And the basic story behind these Hellraiser films are that it is a thin line between pleasure and pain. And if anybody's got the album Kind of Magic by Queen, he touches on that in the song Pain is So Close to Pleasure in 1985, 1986 when it came out. Good storylines, good films. I enjoy them, got no problem. They are what they are. But, you know, more than 10, 12 of these films, at some time you're going to sort of click in your head and you're going to think, oh, hold on a second, I'm watching the same thing over and over and over again. They are good films, but I don't understand why any horror film has to go up to 9, 10, 12, 30, 40 films, like so many of. So they're good films, and if you want to revisit or go, or you're young and you haven't seen these films, they're well worth a watch. They are good. The original came out in 1988, and then I think it was about every 2 to 3 years the follow-ups came then. Good films, very good films, but like I said, too much for me. The Evil Dead. Now, without a doubt, they made the remake, and the remake is a lot more gorier than the original. I think the original, for me, was more jumpier. I mean, the second one, they put more go into it, but they added more comedy into it, and I thought it was a better film. I thought by far the second one was the best of the lot. The first one was a great, well-done film by Sam Raimi. It was really jumpy, really creepy. I think the film was banned for the controversial scene where the actual one girl changes into a witch because she gets technically raped by a tree. Yeah, she was branching out. It's a fantastic film. I got no criticism of the original whatsoever. I liked the remake. I thought it was good, but I still rather the original because that datedness of the film, and of course I did like Bruce Campbell in it. I thought he was good, suited well to the part. That's why they decided to make a couple more, which they did. And it's just got an atmosphere about it. If there is a film, if I decided to do one of these marathons that most people do on Halloween night, I pick 3 or 4 of their best films and watch them right the way through the night. That would be a great way to end the night because it is jumpy, it is scary, it is creepy, it really is good. And I don't know where this film is set and this forestry they put this film in, but by God, whoever made this, Sam Raimi done this film, he was spot on because this place looks evil. It looks creepy. Not just the house, the little hut kind of thing, but the whole environment. The forest looks deadly. I wouldn't walk in there. So great thumbs up to that film. The remake, great film. Didn't have no problem with it. Thought it was fantastic. They added more gore, which I was glad of. But the first one was an hard act to follow, and I thought it was exceptional. I thought it was a fantastic version, but I'd still rather the original. But the new version is great. But if you're a young person or if you haven't seen this horror film before, I would watch the new version first and then watch the other version, the original, as to the other way around, simply because I will think you will agree that there's something much better about the first. It's a great film. It is legendary. Why it was on a banned list, I just don't know. I really don't. Yeah, we've gone through the Candyman, Hellraiser. Oh, one of the best. If I had a top 10 best horror films of all, I love Lucio Fulci, love Dario Argento. I mean, Dario Argento, I mean, they're two masters in my humble opinion. And their films, I mean, especially Dario Argento, there's something classy about his horror films. There's an atmosphere about them. They call them giallo. And it's something to do with the colouring and everything. It's all sort of almost like, I don't know whether anybody's seen Dick Tracy from 1990 with Madonna in, but you've got all these sort of strange colours, almost like cartoon effect kind of thing. And particularly the film like Inferno and a couple of the others that they've done have this kind of colour to them. There's a lot of red and a lot of black. And it created this style and this class to these horror films, and fantastic. But one of the ones that was on the ban list that I watched about 2 years ago, and I thought it was one of the best horror films I've seen, is Tenebrae. This film is classy. It's got, again, me being a chauvinistic person, if that's what they call it today, the women in it are absolutely astounding. If women all look like are from Italy, Spain, and all these places in Europe, which I've done a fair bit of traveling in Europe recently, and know these women are out this world. The film it's a great story. They've probably done before. A man writes a book about a serial killer, and somebody is going around copying what he has done with his book as he is actually promoting his book. Not a couple of years later or a couple of months, they're doing it just as he's promoting his book. The kills in this film is fantastic. It's got the right amount of gore. It's got the right amount of build-up. It just is sophisticated. As an horror film, I think it's faultless. It's got a massive build. There's a couple of little twists in it. It keeps you guessing to the end of who really is the killer, who's doing this, who's doing that. There's more than one bad guy in it. It really is a fantastic film. And again, they don't show them on British TV, and they certainly don't show them on this horror channel. I love the idea that they got a channel specially designed for horror, but now they're changing that and going, oh, we do thrillers as well and sci-fi in the day. I think they could do so much better and show some of these classic films. It is a fantastic film. It's something I think it's definitely in my top 5, maybe in my top 3. Love this film because it's a thriller stroke horror. There is a difference. But it isn't that much difference. A lot of films you see today now, we think, hold on, that's more. I mean, The Purge is classed as an horror. I personally myself thought it was more. These films are more than thrillers than they are horrors. But horror covers so much. You've got horror, terror. It's all the same thing. It's scaring people to a point where you're letting them know you're not just scaring them, but you're going to kill them in the end as well. So it's got everything in this film, but it's classy as hell. Dario Argento, in my books, best in the business. I mean, this guy was amazing. And I finally, 2 weeks ago, got around to seeing the third of the Mothers films, which of course the first was Suspiria, which I didn't see originally when it came out. I was only a little tiny kid then. I didn't see it through the 80s, and I only finally got to see the original Suspiria about 6 months ago, and I was surprisingly disappointed in this film. I didn't think it's blood-soaked. I think it was slightly overhyped. Great film, great story, but overhyped. But Inferno, I thought was a much better film. The atmosphere, it was spot on, the right amount of gore. I mean, the kills in it are not just great, but they're actually, like they're in slow-mo. They're giving you this in anticipation that the knife is going to go right through. It's so cleverly done. I mean, it's genius work. And I finally, I think it was last week or about 9 days ago, I seen The Mother of Tears, which is the final one. And by God, I was not disappointed. This was by far the best of the three. It was gory, it was bloodthirsty. The story went from one twist to the next. It was so clever, so brilliantly done. They definitely kept the best to last, in my opinion. The only slight thing it lacked was the fact that It was set in the 90s, which when it came out, I think it was mid-90s, late 90s, maybe even 2000s. And it just lacked that a little bit of dated atmosphere you get in a lot of horror films that makes the films that much better. But other than that, no criticism. I found this film fantastic. And Mother of Tears, it is just from start to finish, it's just brilliant. And it's pretty much about the third and final witch is pretty much trying to bring hell to Italy and destroy the world, pretty much. It's good. It's the perfect good versus evil. Fantastic film. Loved The Mother of Tears. Absolutely superb. The Purge films. Now, I'm a late comer into these films, like a lot of things, because the work I was doing this time 18 months ago, I was working in a lot of shifts, night shifts, working in care, something I'm out of now, and I never go back into hell of an industry. Care, hated it. And I missed out on so many films, and it's only now I started to watch all the Purge films. I finally watched the latest one, The Purge Forever. I watched 3-4 nights ago. I've seen all of them now. The stories are clever. It's a storyline that when I look back, I can't believe somebody didn't come up with this idea a lot sooner. But it's a genius, a little bit of a great idea, fabulous storylines, and every film delivers a punch. It's a great series of films. I think pound for pound over the last 20 years of horror, thriller, I think the genre is probably some of the best I've seen. I love the Purge films, and I invested in myself in every single one of them. I like the characters in each film. I don't think I've got a favourite. I thought every film had a little bit of a different thing going. The final one that came out this early this year, The Purge Forever, had a slightly bit different story. You had a bit of the immigrants, the Mexican immigrants sort of take on it with Trump wanting to stop all these people coming into America. And it sort of took on its own different story in with The Purge. Cracking film. And every film I've seen in his Purge so far is brilliant. I do believe they've got a TV series out now. I am yet to see, but I will get around to watching this because I'm interested to see how that's going to work. So if anybody, and I know most people have seen because they are popular films, but those who haven't seen them, get and see them. They do not disappoint. They are fantastic films. Yeah, I've gone through Burial Ground. Now, we all know there's a lot of films out there that just take the mick out of horror. I mean, there's one that's just come on a channel that I could pick up some of these films called Cyst. It's about a man with a cyst, and his cyst has its own person. I haven't seen it yet. I will get around to seeing it. It came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago. It's too ridiculous to imagine. And there are a lot of films out there that really, really they're too extreme to watch. Just the senselessness of the storyline. But this one, I've got to mention because I watched this film just to see how they were going to do this film. River. It's about a whole tire in the middle of a desert that suddenly, paranormally, comes alive and goes around killing. A killer tire. I blame myself. Curiosity definitely kills the cat because I watched this film just because I thought, how the heck are they going to make this film work? The story is crazy. It's nuts. But this film is strangely intriguing. It is bizarre. It is right off any level of horror I've ever seen before in my life. Just a supernatural tire, for God's sake. It can actually, it's almost like scanners. It shakes and then it causes things to break and bend and tins to explode and bottles to explode and heads to explode. And I'm like watching this film, I thought, that's a tire, not a car. Kill a car I can get, but a tire on its own, this is nuts. But it is a joke of a film, but it's actually watchable because it's that bad, it's good. And there are a lot of horrors like that, where they're that bad, they're good. You watch them because they are just hysterical. There is a couple of scenes in this film ridiculous where they actually, these group of people are handpicked to go into this desert and to watch this tiger do what it does, goes around killing people, as if they've sat down and watched. They're in this cinema watching a film, but they're not in the middle of this desert. It is extremely bad, but you've got to see it to believe it, because I just, in my lifetime, I don't think I'm ever going to see a film like this again as horror goes. And I've seen some bad horror films, some great ones, some bad ones. But this film just it's in a league of its own. It is crazy. A runaway tiger that kills people, for God's sake, this is mental. Absolute mental. Rare Rubber. Now, this is a film, it's a very, very sensitive subject, this, because we're into the era now. I call it the modern day dark ages, where everybody, you can't speak your mind, you can't have an opinion anymore. You've got all these different groups coming out, BLM and Black Lives Matter and LGBT and B&Q and BBC and HTV and you know, you can't talk. You know, it's strange, because I'm going to go off the subject just to touch you and say that, you know, there's a lot of racism and stuff goes on in this world today, and we all know it's bad. Anybody with a brain cell knows that racism, prejudice, people judge, it's never going to go away. It's never going to disappear. The only way it's going to go away is if we're all going to be controlled. And I think we're steadily heading towards that. Science fiction and horror really is coming true if you look around you now today. And I am proud to say I'm a modern person. I've got nothing against anybody being who they want, whatever color. I never judge people by the color. I judge by their actions and what they got to say. That's what I'm interested in, not color. I've got nothing at all wrong with gay people. If somebody was to say to me, do I understand it? No, I don't. I'm a normal person. They're normal people, but they just think differently. I don't understand it, but I've got no problem with it. I got a nephew, this, you know, the way he is, and there are films out there that touch on the subject. There's a bit of it's got a bit of a cult. Trying to work myself up to this. It's hard to describe this film, and there's a reason behind why I'm sort of gone off the beaten track a little bit here. This film came out in the 70s. I didn't know this film existed quite a few years ago. I did try and get it because I knew nothing about the story until I found out about the story a couple of weeks ago. And I also now can get it again on YouTube. It's 100 Days of Sodom. Now, when I seen the story behind this was about a pile of Italian aristocrats who paid their way through World War II. They didn't fight, they didn't need to, and they used their money. And as the storyline goes, the Germans allowed them, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and they gathered up 15 young boys and girls, and pretty much over a period of the 100 days, did basically what they wanted to them. Not just torture, but sex, gay sex, heterosexual sex. And when I found out about what these people were doing and the things that is in quite graphic in this film, I thought, one, is this film the kind of film I really want to see, because it's not exactly something I didn't think I'd enjoy watching. And secondly, because my curiosity always gets to me, is it something that I'm really willing to take a look at just to see what this film is really all about? And I've seen little snippets, little clips of it, and it do look very unsettling. If you're a normal person, I don't quite how this comes into the horror genre, but it's there. And it's talked about a lot, and yet it isn't talked about enough. This film, I think, basically like Cannibal Holocaust, was made basically just to show you how cruel man can be, how twisted, how sick man can be. And it delivers what I heard about the film and think. So I'm gonna this is one I'm not looking forward to see it, and I will watch it just to say I've seen it. There's the other one out there that is for me to watch now if I want to watch it, but there's some scenes in it I reckon really is packs and punches. The Suburban film, a Serbian film. God, dyslexia for you. Serbian film. There's some scenes in this film that are really just horrific, apparently, really bizarre. And again, I'm not particularly looking forward to seeing it, but being a fan of horror and just to say I've seen it, I've got to see it. So, thumbs up to all the films pretty much. The ones I've seen, this Rubber, you just got to see it to believe it. It's bonkers. It's just, you watch it. If you stick this film out to the end, you will think, how did they do this? Who come up with this idea? It is crazy. But all the films that I've just said, if you haven't seen them, the list, The Curse of the Blue Lights, it's a strange film. It's full of atmosphere. It's almost a scary film for children, although they put just a little bit of gore into it just to say, yeah, it's officially an adult horror film. But it's one of those films I can't find it hard to describe, but it is great. It's a gem. Candyman, the new version, very good, very atmospheric, creepy in places. Just sort of, it's got that Resident Evil kind of vibe, the video game kind of vibe to it, where every corner you turn, you're reluctant to turn the corner because you know something's going to be there. Very creepy film, very sophisticated. Put a lot more money into it than the original. I still think the original was slightly better. The Purge films, fantastic. The Evil Dead, the original and new version, great. Both great films. Did rather the original though, because the atmosphere was there. The Hellraisers, fabulous films, but after I've seen 5 full films now, and I'm like, it's the same thing over and over again. You need to change, but it's fast to continue. The Eaten Alive, amazing cannibal film. This film is a clever little story. It's 2 stories set in one. They go out chasing after this mad cult. This man he's been in a few European horror films through the 70s, 90s. And he's a big nut in the middle of the Amazon. And he's got these people, they live in the middle of the Amazon, out of the way of normal life. And they go by his rules, and he's doing it for the better good, for God. But he's twisted mentally. And in amongst this, they're surrounded by cannibals. This film really is one of the, if you talk about gruesomeness and video nasties, this is probably as gruesome as you're going to get. These people, they eat everything. But it's an intense, scary film. It really is on the edge of your seat. It really is unsettling. The first time you seen it, I had to stop it 2 or 3 times just to take a little bit of a break because it really is that graphic. I just thought this take 10 minutes because it's just too much for one sitting. It's an all-you-can-eat film. It really is a great film. So next week we're going to go over some more new ones. There's hundreds out there. Now, before I go, because I don't want to go on anything over the hour, I want to say about the zombie films in general. There's a big debate about zombie films and about, the new kind of zombies to originals. These people are supposed to be dead. If you're dead, you're dead. Yeah, I can understand them coming back alive and eating people. The eating machines. I saw zombies originally from the 70s, 80s zombie films. They're there to eat. They survive. They live to eat humans, live humans. Now they've got IQs, they've got O levels, A levels, they've got PhDs, they've got I mean, these people can run now, whereas years ago when zombies flesh eating now, they just walk. I mean, you could run 2 miles before they can even turn. But it's still got that menacing thing. Now it's like being chased like by a human being. Only difference is this human being's going to eat you if it catches you. I don't like these new zombie films. The 28 Days and Another 28 Days or whatever it was called. I watched them 2 films. I thought they were rubbish. I didn't like them films at all. World War Z with Brad Pitt. Come on, Brad Pitt in a zombie film just does not work. And I watched that film. It was okay. But zombie films climbing walls and getting together and climbing walls through building up this big sort of pyramid till they get over the wall and running faster than Usain Bolt, for God's sake. Nah, that isn't a zombie film for me. A zombie film is supposed to be with them. You're being chased by a zombie, and if you could do you could be 6 miles away before they even do a mile. You could be in another town, and I just not into these more. I've watched a lot of them. They're okay, some of these zombie films, but the originals are the best. Zombie Flesh Eaters, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Burial Ground. These films are fantastic. So next week I'm going to do a couple of horror classics. I'm going to go through some of the list, and I'm going to slowly go through the video nasties. Next week particularly, we're going to go through Cannibal Ferox and Hell of the Dead, also known as Zombie Creeping Flesh, which is an absolute blast. Another film to watch on Halloween night, because it's just a great fun film to watch. Full of action, full of horror, full of comedy. It's just brilliant. And the soundtrack is great by Goblin. We've done a lot of films in the 70s and 80s for horror. Goblin, I don't know whether it's still about it. We'll have to look at it, and I'll try and catch up next week. So I'm going to do another one next Friday, every Friday without fail from now on. And I'm going to try and give you an idea of what's out there, what to see, what not so much know what to see. I don't want to put in your mind, say, don't watch this. All I'm saying is I'm going to give you my view and say, right, I watched this film. I didn't like it, but you might like it. Because I don't believe a film is bad. It's your opinion that makes it bad. Yeah, there are films out there that are really bad, but I know some people like bad films. So yeah, if you tune in, hopefully anybody tunes in that is into these films, and I might even go into, the sort of thriller, action, zombie sort of horror, because it's all mixed in these days now. But there's no doubt that horror seems to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, genre of films in the industry now. They're more than it is most others. So anyway, my name's David Parsons, also known as Die Turbo. So this is going to be called Die Turbo's own horror, House of Horrors. And I'm going to be tuning in every Friday. So tune in. Hopefully I'll try and build a fan base, but even if only 10 people watch this, it's something. But I just want to get over my love for horror films and entertainment in general, and now what's great out there and what is not so good, and maybe even spark off a little bit of debate about films that may have never been remade so far that we think could be remade again. Or the other film I want to talk about next week is a real gem that came out recently, which is Army of Frankenstein. This film is crazier than anything I've ever seen. And I can tell you something now, I watched it a couple of months ago, and this film is fantastic. So I'll go into that a little bit more in detail next week. So hopefully tune in next Friday. Is no real set time. If I'm on, but hopefully it will be unfortunately in the day, because there's so much noisier in doing this in the night, and probably as at the time, if you're watching it live, that you want to be watching a horror film, or your favourite Coronation Street or whatever crap they put on the telly these days, because I just don't watch mainstream telly now. It's YouTube, Netflix, and Amazon. They're by far the better channels now. HTV and BBC. Rubbish. So anyway, take care, and I will see you next week, and enjoy the films that are out there. There is so many to watch, and enjoy. Take care.